basically funded by Sony or funded by Nintendo to produce some numbers, and all of them claim to be number one. But then you can say, oh, hold on a second, they cannot be all number one. It's just they decide what to measure, and they kind of give you the headline that kind of doesn't tell you what is actually being measured. It gives you some kind of a abstract terms like, sold the most, and sold to the shop, sold to customers, or what?
Yeah, I'll just give the figures here. They came from a site, GamersMint, which is a generic multi-platform site. I'll have to correct my own figures here because it claims that in 2009-2010, Sony sold 3.1 million units more than Microsoft, and in 2010 and this part of 11, it sold 4.7 million more units than Microsoft. It has Nintendo's product on 17 million total units, PS3 on 14.4, and the 360 on 12.2. Again, we have to be very sceptical. It would be rather hypocritical to suggest that these are fact any more so than any other figures. But it is very interesting. I think what we can surmise from this is that the Kinect certainly wasn't the draw to the 360 that Microsoft was claiming it was. These figures, however accurate they are, don't suggest that people were clambering for the 360 console on the back of the Kinect technology. And as I argued at the time, I think that there was a lot of interest in the Kinect as a utility or peripheral for other platforms. And we saw that with the speed in which a hack came out for the drivers, and how Microsoft initially jumped down on people trying to get the thing to work on another machine, on another platform, and then once they realised it was too late, appeared to sort of say, well, we intended it all along to be for other platforms. So that to me was quite interesting, and I think we can, generalising now, we can say that the Kinect doesn't look as if it was the draw to the 360, because the 360 you would expect far greater sales if that was the case.
Yeah, or you have to distinguish though between people who buy the console because they expect to be able to buy the peripheral and kind of pay extra for the console to play some specific game for it. You also have existing people who had the 360 since like 2007, and they basically just want some facility by which to play some new games with new paradigms and body movements or whatever. So and in that case, they just sell you the peripheral, but they don't actually improve the sales of the console.
I mean, I'll stand by what I said at the time when the Kinect was first announced, and that's I think the Kinect is to appease existing 360 customers who've become more disillusioned with Microsoft and maybe the 360 itself. The lack of the more modern technologies on the 360, for example, Blu-ray support, which regardless of where you sit on the fence in regards to DRM and proprietary and Hollywood, it's something that is being demanded in the home as part of your home entertainment system.
It's probably very easy to miss that based on the amount of news, especially in the English press as opposed to the Japanese press. But Microsoft is really last in this game because it's the last console to have a the motion sensor type of peripheral. Is it true that Sony released the Move about a month or 2 months before Microsoft did? Yeah.
Yeah, and it actually won an award as well. And off the top of my head, I can't think. It was some sort of computer entertainment award. I mean, I've got no particular interest in playing games with Move technology. It's for me, it's a little bit like having a touchscreen keyboard. It just doesn't sit well with me. I like to be comfortable. But yeah, apparently it was the best of the bunch of this new Move technology. From what I can see, and again, this is a very loose description of what I've observed in the shops and things. The Move technology seems very similar to Kinect. It has a part of the camera, I believe, of the Sony Eye that involves the user, but I don't know the details because I don't use this.
Yeah, they mostly use stereo, or they actually track the 2 points and they can do some geometry around that. But the interesting thing is Microsoft could have been the only console not to have this type of thing. And perhaps they had to wake up and produce something because, everyone else was on the way towards doing something. And the person who was behind the, so-called technology, I just call it, what they mean usually is a patent or something. There was this person, whose name I can't pronounce. He's an Asian person. And, he was the one who was brought into the company to help produce this Kinect. And he left and he joined Google. of all companies about 2 months ago. And that kind of shows you it's not exactly a very good sign with a person who is supposedly behind the very fast selling. By the way, they spent $500 million, as far as I know, just promoting the thing. So lots of advertising, pushed news, fake news, whatever you want to call that in English press. Lots of it. All this nonsense and hackers, and it's basically paid for. It's the PR industry playing with that. Lots of money to be earned, lots of money to be going around, change hands and whatever, just to ensure you think that the Kinect is the main thing. In fact, most people who use these motion sensor things are using Nintendo. And I went to the shop the other day, actually Marks and Spencer. I just happened to go to the electronics store, and they had these kind of display of all the peripherals that Nintendo offers for a person who uses the machine, because they have all these, mattresses and all kinds of like things shaped like guns and stuff. As they have many years around this market, and I'm not sure Microsoft has got these maturity so far. They also don't have as many consoles around, so a company that wants to produce a game for the Wii knows it's got like well over 50 million people with the controller, yeah, and with Microsoft, how many Kinects have they sold so far? I mean, what is the target market for a developer that wants to, to make those motion-ready kind of games, or maybe 5 million, or very small?
I agree. I mean, the Wii was sold on the back of its Move motion technology, so any developer who was working on that platform would know that anybody with a Wii has the facility to play these motion games, albeit with the paddle or whatever the Nintendo Wii calls this. It is a very good question, and I don't know the answer to it. I do know people with a 360 console, but that don't have the Kinect. So, for a developer, I expect it is a bit of a big question mark at the moment as to how big their audience is going to be for any potential project they release.
Yeah. I mean, here we are in 2010. You have Microsoft essentially doing those demos where you kind of hold a controller and it's kind of like, a steering wheel. And you kind of think, hold on a second, Nintendo was doing that, they were showing things like that back in 2006 or 7. And you kind of think, why are people excited by that? We've already seen that. It's just a different product name with the same type of thing. And I think people probably think why we go towards this, direction in terms of the coverage. And I think the main point to be made here is Microsoft still is, even especially in hardware, they're just a catch-up company. Even the Zune was just a copy of the iPod. And if you're going to make a copy of something, you have to at least make it better if you want to succeed, because you don't have the trademark, you don't have the familiarity among people. And in this case, if all you can produce is like a controller that's based on motion, 5 years after the original company, even though Nintendo had lots of prior art, in fact, for motion sensors and things that move around and track a certain bunch of points and do some geometry on them. Even if they're just going to copy that, they're not going to be able to be leaders. There are very few examples where they did manage to do that, including Netscape. And usually they have to cheat and they have to destroy the companies that actually do well. They have to then be dragged to court and pay settlement money, and you know the story. So.
Well, I mean, I think it's very telling. Whilst consoles and gaming isn't something that we cover exclusively on any of the sites from the show, it is a very good indicator of Microsoft, I think, and their actions. We have often said that Microsoft is a Me Too company, catch-up company, whatever you want to call it. And we saw it with the Zune, which spectacularly failed. Now, I don't class myself as any sort of tech insider expert, but yet I could look at the Zune when it was announced and say, this is going to flop. Unfortunately, there was people that bought into the hardware, and now they find themselves in a position where it's rumoured. I don't know whether that's been confirmed or not.
Well, even the key products of Microsoft, if you're looking at the server or you're looking at the operating system, either DOS or Windows, or if you look at Microsoft Office, all of these things were already done before Microsoft stepped into the scene. What they do usually is they copy somebody else, or they buy a company which produces something that looks like the market leader, and then they try to use some legal tactics to push them out. And that was in fact the case back in the days of Windows and Office and so on. So they didn't exactly invent anything new, and those who did invent things which were new, kind of died or were killed by Microsoft, and Microsoft kind of took the ideas and incorporated them into the Office suite or something like that. And now people think of these